Okay. We've touched on a bunch of this stuff, and I had a whole thing here prepared, so bear with me if I repeat myself. But I would like to say that my wife and I have accepted full responsibility for keeping the dog safe and secured, and as well as the safety of other people and other dogs. We realize the potential that all dogs have, and that's why we put these provisions in place before this event even happened. So prior to this, we tried to be responsible pet owners. We're going to continue to be responsible pet owners. But I believe that this event occurred for two reasons. The first reason is that the owner of the other dog allowed the dogs to fence fight, come on my property, and left his dog there to fence fight. Now, I don't know if that's illegal in Arundel County or not. I know it's against some codes in certain counties. But the fence fighting definitely contributed to this situation. The other thing is that the dog was able to find a weak spot in the fence, of which we've corrected. I mentioned to you that Luna was originally a stray. She was. They felt that she was an adoptable animal there, and they shipped her to the SPCA for adoption, and that's where we ended up finding her. She was 3 years old when we got her. She was tested and evaluated by the SPCA and was deemed adoptable, which, I think they socialize them with the other animals and make sure that they're okay. We have had her in a corner lot for 3 years without incident. That's how long we've had Luna, up until this fence fighting. I'd like to point out that Luna and the puppy now he's a year old. They're introduced to my mother-in-law's dog once a week. My mother-in-law brings her dog over. There's no issues with that. My next door neighbor, Paul here, actually his mother's house is next door. They have a dog on the other side of the other fence. No issues there. I mentioned we're on a corner lot with a lot of pedestrian traffic, and like I said, I've never had an incident in 3 years. We have playground equipment, trampolines, swing sets, all kinds of stuff. The kids play with the dogs. The dog is not as aggressive and as mean as everybody has made, or some have made it out to sound. Again, I've already pointed out that I believe that the complainant was on my property, had his dog stretched out. I don't know how long his leash was, but when I measured the two areas where the dog was and where the owner was, I didn't witness it, but according to my wife's statements of where he was, where those two orange cones are that we placed, that's 45 feet that dog was stretched out and was allowed to be up against my fence fighting. He was asked to leave multiple times, of which he did not. Some of the expenses that we've incurred to correct this problem and some of the things that we've done, we've upgraded their collars to what's called a Max Dog. It's actually it's pitiful to watch it. It's very, very strong. Pretty much knock her down if she gets hit, so she doesn't go anywhere near it now. We actually went a step further and got the same invisible fence for the puppy to keep from having any kind of future issues with him, in case, now that we've experienced this, we don't want any more problems. The baby gates, we put the baby gates in the house, which they're steel baby gates. We put very good baby gates in. We had to build a kennel, had to buy a dog house. We put another gate up. So many things. We put signage up. We've put locks on bedroom doors. I don't know what else we can do to show the board and the county and actually even the owner of the other dog that we've done everything we can to make this a safe situation for everyone. I also have a plat of our property, if someone could. Now I don't know exactly how wide Ford Drive is, but I don't see any reason why someone with a dog as upset as they were would have the dog on my property or up against my fence fighting it.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
This is the areas which you're talking about, the extra?
Yes,
This
that
is the
grassy
extra-
area, the grassy area that shows in the large photos, that's 16 feet wide.
Okay, but I mean, that's not part of your plat, where they consider
No,
that like the easement?
no, yeah, that part is the easement, but
Okay.
it's 16 feet wide there. Basically, I wanted to
So
show.
then when you show that to them, so they're looking at it this way, okay, here's the actual property line. Okay, this is the driveway, so if they're looking at the photographs, and then here's the street, and then here is the grassy easement, the county easement. So they know what they're doing, so they look at it this way.
This is the proper way to look at it. This is where the dog was. This is where the driveway is. This is 16 feet of county grass. And then this is the actual road, but this is where the incident occurred right here.
This is the fence line.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the fence line. And then this is, I guess, the driveway.
Yeah. I guess those are the two cones they put.
And then this is where it happened.
Yeah.
Is there anything specifically to the potentially dangerous order that you would surrender to you from animal control that you're appealing?
Yes. The kennel is a great, is good. We have guests. Some people are just naturally afraid of dogs, especially a dog the size of her. So, we're great with the kennel. It's already installed. We feel it was an improvement for everybody, so that's not a problem. The baby gates, it keeps the dogs from running to the door when the pizza man comes or whatever. The only thing that we're concerned about is the muzzled part of being in the yard. We've been doing that. What's that?
We don't want her in the kennel.
No, we don't. Yeah, if she's in the yard, she either has to be muzzled or she has to be in the kennel full time. And it's had a negative effect on the animal because she's now less social with people. She doesn't want to go out in the yard. She's not playing with the kids. She's gaining weight. It's just, we feel that we've gone above and beyond with the upgrading the invisible fence, upgrading the collars, putting it to the other dogs, putting the rebar in, putting the steel piping. That steel piping that's all along the bottom of that's 14 gauge steel pipe. That's not flexible in any way, shape, or form. So we feel that the dog and the community and other animals are safe if and that she's contained.
Is that a correct interpretation of the order, Officer Beckner, that if the dog is in the yard, it has to be muzzled if it's unattended?
No, if it's in the yard, it has to be obviously attended by somebody and
Okay.
be on a 6-foot leash and a muzzle.
Right.
If she's out unattended, she has to be in her kennel, which is under the decking.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, my husband said he had added another gate. We have a deck, and we put a gate where the steps, so that she can't get, if she goes on the deck, she can't get down the steps, so.
And that was realized once, honestly, I questioned why we needed the baby gates on the inside of the house, but of course we wanted our dog back, and so we put the baby gates on the inside of the house, and right away we saw the benefit in that when someone rings the doorbell or whatever, with dogs running out and all that kind of stuff, it stopped all that, so we decided to go above and beyond what animal control asked us to do, and put one actually on the deck as well.
And the dog weighs what, about 100 pounds?
She's 105.
She's 6 years old?
She's 5. Mm-hmm. She's going on 6. I'm
They don't
sorry.
really know how old she was.
About 2 when we got her. We've had her 3
Oh, okay.
years, so.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, does anybody else have any, yes?
Yes, I want to make a couple of statements here. One, the fact that when she let the dogs out, she couldn't see me is a clear indication she had no idea where my dog was or I. And I can tell you, we were halfway down the yard, not near the corner, and we were about halfway up to the fence because my dog had done his business, and I was picking it up. And as soon as I saw that bulldog running towards me, I stopped what I was doing, tightened the leash, and Tucker and I started running into the street and south towards Colony. So there was, the dog attack didn't happen on the corner where they have the cone. It happened on the grass, because that dog was under that fence in less than 2-3 seconds. So it was on the grass, almost at the road. The reason it proceeded further up the road is because I was trying to get my dog away from them. And that's the other thing I want to make clear. She said she had her dog under control and I wouldn't take my dog away. What she's not making clear is that second dog wasn't playing at all. That dog was growling and actively attacking me and my dog. And that's a problem. So I don't know how she expected me to just go away when I couldn't get away from the two dogs. And you know, they've tried to make it that there was fence fight. There was no fence fighting going on at all. I was trying to get my dog out of there. The reason? Because back in 2009, my dog had been attacked by 2 strays. My dog is not the kind of dog that's just gonna go up against a bigger dog. We were trying to get out of there because I was afraid. And make no mistake about it, if my wife had been walking the dog instead of me, the damage to my dog would have been much more severe, because my wife could not have picked up Tucker and walked away with him. She has a bad back. And she won't walk the dog now because she's afraid of what's going to happen if that dog gets out again. It was a very vicious attack. And clearly that dog had been under the fence before, because it was like that. Now, what they've done may prevent the dog from going under the fence. But, you know, this fence fighting being the cause, that was not the cause. It was clear that that dog just didn't like us being anywhere near. And as they've shown you on the plat, that wasn't their property. That grass belongs to the county. And if my dog decides to poop on the grass that's 8 feet away from their fence, and then tries to come after me and the dog while I'm trying to pick it up like I'm required to do, and then leave and then attack us while we're escaping, there's a problem with that dog. That's all.
Can I say something, please? I'm sorry. If he was indeed heading back up, there was no time for my neighbor to see him and hear me. That is what provoked my neighbor to look over, is he heard me ask the gentleman to get his dog away from my fence.
Can
Can I finish?
Sure.
When the dog went under the fence, it was right in front of the fence where they first got into it. I did get my dog under control, and that's when I said to him, please pick your dog up, because if you had it in arms, there was no way for my dog to get his dog. And I proceeded to try to get her up the driveway. Her collar was off, so holding the dog by fur is very hard, and that's how she got away from me again. My fence is not 8 feet, it's 16 feet off of the road. So there's no reason for anybody to let their dog poop on the grass. That's not mine. And he was not halfway up. Believe me, if I saw him and his dog standing at my fence, there's no way I would let my 105-pound bulldog out, knowing that she would be upset that there was a dog. Any dog's upset if the dog goes walking down the road. It's just a known, that's how it is. They bark. That's what dogs do. So, no, I would never, ever let. And as far as Sherman goes, I've never seen that dog growl. He's been living with us for about 7 months now. I've never seen him growl or go after anybody. There's plenty of people that come in my yard, in my house. There's children that play. Never, ever had a problem with that dog with that dog growling or biting anybody.
Could we ask what you saw?
He had his dog up against the fence. It was clearly on Pat's property.
You're talking about
She
the
asked him
easement.
twice to move that dog, and he ignored her.
Okay, we're talking about the easement here. Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was, that easement is his property. It's not the county's property.
Well, I think that it
I've
might
lived
be.
down here for
It
58.
is, but it isn't.
I've lived down in the neighborhood 58 years. I know who belongs to where. All right?
Right, no, I know.
My
Property owners
sister
are required to
my
take care
sister
of the
brings her dog,
easement.
her Yorkie down, and they bark at each other, but as far as it goes, she's never tried to get underneath the fence after our dogs.
Okay. I
All right?
just,
I went in her house and tried to get the leash, and I wasn't sure which leash it was, so I just grabbed the first one I could find and went out, and it was the wrong one. I weigh 140 pounds, and I had Luna on the ground, holding her while Melissa went back in her house to get a leash. But he was in the wrong, clearly in the wrong. He did not move that dog until Luna started coming at him. And that's when he decided to move the dog, and he wouldn't pick it up. He dragged the dog. And he stood on my mom's property for 45 minutes, and my sister took a blanket to him.
Okay, anybody else have any?
I'd like to point out that the weak spot that was in the fence, I think he alluded, I think the plaintiff or the other, the other dog owner alluded that there was obviously a weak spot in the fence, like where the dog knew to run to. I can tell you now, I have a total of $3,900 and some worth of fencing and upgrades and this and that and all that other kind of stuff. There was the dog. Yes, the dog did find a weak spot in the fence, which happened to be right where he was, but it was not an ignored area that was, like we're being an irresponsible dog owner. It was, yes, there was a weak spot. Did we ignore it? No. And the minute I found out about it, I took care of it right away.
Can I say something? My mother lives next to him. All right, we depend on them dogs to bark at us. All right, my mom won't stay at the house by herself. All right, so Luna and the other dog, when they bark, we know which bark is which. If it's somebody in the yard, or if it's another dog walking down the street. But 99% of the time, when her dog barks, it means there's somebody in the yard. And my mom likes that. All right, since my father passed away. She depends on them two dogs.
Can I just ask one more thing? Paul, can you describe what brought you out of the house? How you witnessed, or how you got involved in this?
The way the dog was barking, it brought me out of the garage. And then I seen Luna go under the fence. All right, I lost sight of him because I'm over here and he went around the fence here in the driveway. So this where I lost sight of him. And when I came down the driveway, he was kicking at the brown dog. He was in my mother's yard in her driveway. And he was kicking at the brown dog, and the brown dog just wanted to play. And I yelled at him not to kick at the dog. So the other neighbor come over and got the brown dog, and between myself and Melissa, well, I held down the Luna. I held her down for a good 5 minutes while she went in the house and got the right leash to put her back in the yard. And I only weigh 140 pounds. But that dog never tried to bite me at all.
And just so you know, Sherman was out running as all this was going on because he thought he was free and could do what he wanted to do. And another neighbor came out and she helped us get Sherman in, and never once
Sherman
did
wouldn't
Sherman,
come to me.
no one said ever Sherman go after her, bark at her, growl at her, anything. So that's when, he held the Luna while I went and got the right leash for her to bring her back in the house.
I guess basically what we're trying to say is obviously we can't deny any of the things that have happened. The animal was injured, and we're sorry that the animal was injured, and we'll definitely make restitution to the animal owner. We've been waiting for the bill, and we kind of wondered why we hadn't got it. But because of this hearing, we weren't going to approach the owner and ask for the bill. We figured sooner or later it would come our way. So again, we can't deny that any of this stuff has happened. We can't deny that there was a weak spot in the fence and that the dog got out, and that there was a fight between the two dogs. What we're basically asking for is for the dog to be able to have run of the yard now that the situations have been corrected with the fence, and we're also asking that. Well, I don't know how you would do it, but some education for people on fence fighting. Never really realized it myself how dangerous it can be, but we know now. So.
And we're talking about when we're home for Luna to have run the yard, obviously, not when anybody's
she's
home.
not
We don't
left
leave our
out.
dogs out when nobody's home. So.
Okay, are we ready?
Okay, Nancy?
Okay.
Okay, the Animal Control Commission has made a unanimous decision to uphold the potentially dangerous order with the following amendments. Amend item number 3 as follows. To reduce the possibility of your animal having access to the public when outside attended, you must build a secured fence area, ensuring that any gates accessing the secured fenced area be locked with a padlock to prevent opening from the outside. This fence is to be completely secured with no gaps or holes, and the fencing material is to be secured firmly to the bottom. If unattended, Luna must be in the existing kennel as per the order. We're also going to strike the word fence from item 4. So basically, Luna can be in the yard, as long as that fence is secured and padlocked,
Okay,
attended,
right,
without a muzzle.
okay,
She ever leaves the property for any reason, she's to be muzzled on a 6-foot leash
Okay.
with someone 18 years of older onto that leash.
okay,
Okay?
yep.
Just to be clear, is it just, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Now, to be clear, attendant means down in the yard. Doesn't
Right.
mean standing up on the deck, doesn't
Right.
mean running to use the bathroom, does not mean, let me check on dinner. Means somebody
Someone in the
18
yard
years
with
or
her.
older has to be down there with her,
Okay,
and it should only be her. Because
Okay.
if you get everybody out there, you know how a crowd gets and everything, so.
So,
The other question I had for you was, in looking at your photos with those bars on the bottom, it looks like that fence can be pushed off those bars. Was that ever toggled onto those bars?
it's wired with the, I don't know what the gauge wire is, but it's the intended ties.
Same as it's tied on the top, it's tied on the
Same way it's
bottom.
tied on the top.
Okay.
It's actually tied better on the bottom because it's a better material on the bottom.
Okay.
we didn't do the top part, we did the bottom.
We
so.
would have to do an inspection.
Right, that's, well, okay.
Okay, so
Right.
padlocked, any opening gates have to be padlocked?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
You got a question?
No, that answered my question, just basically the existing fence, as long as it's secured and it's locked.
Correct.
And we're.
and we're
with
down in the yard with
And
her.
and somebody 18
Right.
years of older is outside with her.
Okay,
And this was also based on the fact that the dog cannot clear that fence, jump over that fence.
Well, I have no history of her jumping
Aye.
over.
yeah. I don't think she
I
can,
don't know.
but,
If
right,
that becomes an issue, then.
okay,
All right.
all right.
Okey doke.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.